Okay, I think we can get started now. Officially, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar series. This is the series about innovative entrepreneurship pathways. As you had read from the introduction that we had done on the webpage, we are at a very pivotal time in our life, in our history, where we're seeing a lot of convergence between digital technology, environmental sustainability, as well as social impact. And this is really reshaping the global economy, the education system, as well as the society in large. So the future of work is undergoing profound transformation, and this demands new skills, innovative business models, as well as strong entrepreneurial spirits. And entrepreneurship, as you know, it remains very relevant in today's market. It's a critical entrepreneurship is a critical aspect for development, for economic development. It's a catalyst for creating jobs and addressing so many societal changes. But we see that so many TVET centers are not yet ready to really take their entrepreneurship education to the next level. How can they adapt better to the new ideas that are coming up, to the innovative practices, and what do you need to do to become entrepreneurial as a person so that you can actively participate in the change that we need for the future of work? And to get us started, I'm very excited to introduce our head of office, Mr. Friedrich Huebler. He is the head of UNESCO-UNEVOC, who is going to give us opening remarks and officially open this web series, which is going to be 4 webinars happening every Wednesday for the next 4 weeks. Welcome, Mr. Friedrich.
Thank you, Priscilla. Good morning from me too. My name is Friedrich Huebler. I'm the head of UNESCO-UNEVOC, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to this opening of this new webinar series on entrepreneurial learning in TVET. Technical and vocational education and training, or TVET, plays a crucial role in equipping youth with the skills that they need to thrive in a changing job market. This includes green skills, digital skills, and also entrepreneurial skills, which have become increasingly important in the labor market and in society. TVET graduates with entrepreneurial skills can be more agile and innovative and respond quickly to changes in the economy. They can create businesses and generate employment opportunities for others, and they can contribute to economic growth in their communities and in national economies. The symposium focuses on 3 key areas: digital entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship, and green entrepreneurship. These pathways are essential for fostering creativity, innovation, and an entrepreneurial mindset among TVET graduates. By integrating principles of sustainability and equity in TVET curricula, we can have a transformative impact on TVET systems globally. So throughout this webinar series, we will explore innovative practices, We will explore innovative practices in entrepreneurship education, facilitate knowledge exchange, and inspire new approaches to integrating the teaching of entrepreneurial skills in TVET curricula. And our goal as UNEVOC is to empower TVET graduates with an entrepreneurial mindset that enables them to thrive in a dynamic world. Before I conclude, I wanted to thank all the speakers who will contribute to this webinar series. And starting with today's sessions, we will hear from Dessy Aliandrina. She's the founder of SociopreneurID Indonesia and the head of the Indonesia National Chapter of the UNESCO Entrepreneurship Education Network. We also hear from Johannes Lindner, Professor for Entrepreneurship and Value-Based Education at University Teacher College, Vienna and Krems in Austria. And then you already heard from my colleague Priscilla Gatonye. We'll also later hear from Lenny Martini, and they're both from the Inclusion and Youth Employability team at UNESCO-UNEVOC. I also want to thank the other speakers who will be involved in future webinars from various UNEVOC centers in Africa and the Asia Pacific region. And finally, I wanted to thank all of you in the audience for joining us today. I encourage everyone to engage actively in the discussions and share your experiences and collaborate with fellow educators, practitioners, and innovators. Together, we can shape the future of entrepreneurship education in TVET and contribute to a just and sustainable society. So thank you again and enjoy this webinar.
Thank you so much for the welcome remarks. I believe even if you're not able to say it properly because you were coughing a bit, we really got the message. The message is home, and this webinar series is officially open, as you heard from the head of UNESCO-UNEVOC. Thank you so much, Mr. Friedrich. And maybe a question to you, our audience, as we draw you into this conversation. We want to really understand, are you ready for the future of work? And why is entrepreneurship important for you? Are you ready for the future of work, and why is entrepreneurship important for you? Please use the chat function to answer this question so that we can really understand whether you need an additional support or what exactly we are looking into from all our audiences that are joining us. So next, and I don't want to take time because she's already been introduced, we're going to hear about the Indonesian approach, or what is happening in the global aspect when it comes to entrepreneurship, innovative practices. So I'm very pleased to introduce Ms. Dessy Aliandrina, I always confuse this, Aliandrina, who is going to really give us share her expertise on this subject. Aliandrina, as you just heard, she's the founder and executive director of Sociopreneur Hub in Indonesia, and also the head of UNESCO Entrepreneurship Education Network, Indonesia National Chapter. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Ms. Priscilla. Good morning and good afternoon from Indonesia. Greetings from Indonesia. So, dear esteemed speakers, UNESCO-UNEVOC committee, and all the symposium participants. It's an honor for me to be here and share with you. So, we are gathered today to share and learn from each other about entrepreneurship education and practices, especially in TVET. So today, I'm going to talk how the Indonesian approach to this challenge, because Ms. Priscilla already talked about what is the challenge that we face today, and then is that entrepreneurial mindset, entrepreneurial learning will be one of the ways to cope with the challenge. So I will start about the why and the how. And if we look into higher education today, our biggest challenge is education itself. And particularly is the mismatch between the graduate skills and society and the market needs. According to the Indonesian National Statistics Bureau, the relevance of universities and market needs is only 49% in Indonesia. So the relevance is only 49%, so how about another 51%? This number should be a wake-up call, actually, for the universities, for TVET, as they have a crucial role in equipping students with the skills demanded by employers, and increasing the availability of practical experience-based learning opportunities. If we look at a report from McKinsey, the World Economic Forum, they identify in-demand skills such as creativity, complex problem solving, analytical critical thinking, resilience, adaptability, technology literacy that are needed in today's world. Specifically in Indonesia, in the last 12 years, every year, we conducted study to identify what is the biggest challenge in education system. Then we identify there are 5 education challenges in Indonesia. One, about uniformity in thinking, lack of practical skills, lack of decision-making skills, lack of problem-solving skills, especially analytical and critical thinking skills, and also lack of character quality. But if we look the whole landscape in education system, we tend to so far, the education is a responsibility, educational institution and the government. And that's the fact. So how about who wants to use the graduates? they're waiting. So the world of work from the social and non-profit to commercial sectors is waiting for the new workers. So they just wait. So based on this, if this happens, supply come from educational institutions because the demand of the market and society, but they never involve each other. So this paradigm needs to be reshaped by how to integrate it directly, the business organization, public organization, and broader community into the educational ecosystem. Then the stakeholder must participate actively in the higher education system, not only as beneficiaries, but also as contributors. We can, if we look further, there are many strategies can bridge this gap by establishing partnership with local business, creating flexible learning schedules, recognizing non-traditional learning and experience, integrating crucial skills into the curriculum. And we find a lot of practices. But then how to make it massive? So Indonesia in 2022, Indonesia Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, and Technology introduced Merdeka Belajar Kampus Merdeka, or what we call it emancipated learning, the new policy that catalyzing a paradigm shift in higher education. Then it make the learning at the practical and holistic learning with emphasis on entrepreneurship education. Through this new policy, it permits students to dedicate up to 3 semesters to non-academic, real-world projects, and equip them to contemporary challenge. If you look here in your screen, then you can find there are 9 off-campus activities where the student can involve. But actually, why it happened? Because through this new policy, it's not changed the entire education system. That's what people are worried about this new policy. But this want to optimize the system. Then the goal is to ensure that college graduates are not just knowledgeable, but also equipped with skills and attitude that are relevant to the real challenge of the time. Then they can choose between these 9 activities for 3 semesters, up to 3 semesters. They can go out of universities. And for example, in 1 semester, where they can work with the companies, state institutions, directly with society, then those stakeholders step into the shoes of higher education, and their functions as higher education institutions. Because we believe that you can learn everywhere. Then this new policy make higher education forced to send their students out of campus into the real world. This, in 2022, we expand and extend the models, because today we also talk about how we also create an impact to society. Before, we only make it separately, but then we identify the local priorities and national development agenda. Then we connect all the projects into this agenda. So this one, for example, the government have an agenda to improve the SMEs development. Then how to make this work together. And then what the university work, government, and also the stakeholders, they work together to design the curriculum where all these stakeholders involved. You can see here, there's a government, there's SMEs, there is universities, community media associations, and also finance institutions. I'm sorry this because this in Bahasa. And this project is run in the 10 provinces in Indonesia, involve more than 1,400 students to help 35 SMEs, then make them go into wider to big market. This is not only good for the SMEs, but also for the students. What the benefit gained by the students? Personal growth, knowledge development, social and civic responsibility, community impact, and improve their character qualities because they understand what is the real problem faced by the country. Then this model, by the end of 2023, the impact of collaborations, we create 11,000 projects all over Indonesia that provide opportunity for 1.5 million students to involve. And then what is the impact? 22.3% support national priorities. So here, what I want to tell you is why it can achieve this. Because all stakeholders provide space, room, channels, whatever the name is, for the students to freely associate, assembly, and take actions with various stakeholders to materialize their classroom learning and positively impact their surrounding. Where's the importance of technology? That's to enabling the greater impact. So what I want to stress here, space, room, channel are needed to learn, materialize the learning in the classroom. And it cannot be done only by education institution. It has to be done together with the stakeholders. So education institution can implement this model, collaborate with industry experts, then they can provide real-world insight, mentorship, co-create certain courses related to what they need. So through this, I want to say is like to you, higher education, TVET, we need to work together. You need to work together. You cannot do it everything by yourself. There are many ways to do this. Embedding entrepreneurial mindset to create this type of collaborations, then having effective entrepreneurship education is only one of the ways. Then, so here in closing, I want to express my heartfelt appreciations to everyone in here that there are many ways to do, but collaboration is a key. To improve future generations, you cannot do alone as educational institutions. You have to collaborate and open the door to give more space and room for your students. So I wish everyone a productive and enjoyable discussion at this symposium. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the speech. It was really informative and insightful. And I think everyone can attest that collaboration and dialogue has not been very strong and is something that we need to strengthen if we are really going to participate in the future of work, especially when we think about greening, digitalization, and social entrepreneurship. Thank you so much for that introduction into this session and really reminding us and emphasizing the importance of collaboration using the three activities you just mentioned about creating space, room, as well as channel. Thank you so much, Ms. Dessy. And as we get into understanding the global trends of what entrepreneurship learning is happening, we're going to look at the innovative pathways for future of entrepreneurship. So what is happening in the world of research? What is the global trends within this topic? And I'm very pleased to see my colleague who is going to join us shortly to introduce this. And this is Mr. Johannes Lindner. Johannes Lindner is the Entrepreneurship and Value-Based Education Professor at the University of Vienna. He is also the author of our UNESCO-UNEVOC Entrepreneurship Practical Guide, which we are going to look into later. So welcome, Mr. Johannes, for this intervention.
Thanks a lot for the welcome, for these very nice words. Maybe I introduce once more. I'm the National Coordinator for Entrepreneurship Education in my country on behalf of the Austrian Ministry of Education, Science and Research, which is a member of UNESCO-UNEVOC. And I was thinking, okay, I have now 15, 20, 25 minutes. What can I do that you really participate in this conversation? And I was thinking, okay, in my role as an entrepreneurship educator, coordinator in my country, we had intensive discussions inside my country and with on European level, what are really the challenges? What are the gaps? And which kind of recommendations do we see? And I would like to open this discussion with you. I do not want to present you now, this is the way how you could do it. Later on, hopefully we will do this, Priscilla. But now I would like to discuss this with you and to see which challenges do we see. Do we see really the same challenges, or maybe do we see quite different challenges? Priscilla, do you see the presentation? Is it fine?
Yes, yes, I see it. Okay. Fantastic.
I think we have one common mission. We all like to make a difference through entrepreneurship. And it's quite interesting also to see what means the difference for us. Probably we have different perspective. What is the difference? And I was thinking, okay, first, before we start with a discussion, I would like to have that every one of you is writing one hashtag about his work in the field of entrepreneurship just in the chat, that we see the variation of our understanding what we are doing in our work. Please just write down now and hashtag what is your orientation to entrepreneurship education. Because some of us are working on strategic level in ministries, some of us are working directly with the learners in a TVET college, in a company, and some of us have maybe special projects, special programs, and therefore we have probably different hashtags. Just write down your hashtag. My hashtag would be entrepreneurship for youth. Entrepreneurship and tourism, vibrant, self-development, idea realization. Maybe to help you with hashtags, in one of the workshops we made, a couple of colleagues have written down hashtags. Some of the hashtags are maybe a bit longer than normal hashtags, but there you see words like innovation, empowerment is a hashtag, very good. Research, okay, a colleague from the research area. Value creation, I like this hashtag a lot. We will take a look for that later on. Empowerment trainers, okay, the trainer perspective. Idea man, work together, sustainability. Positive perspectives, growth mindset, entrepreneurial mindset, capacity building. I think some people did not write down a hashtag up to now. Creativity, tourism, business. Okay, we have at minimum 2 people from tourism area. Empowerment, innovation in business. SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, the global goals from the United Nations. Ideapreneurship, okay, combination of words. Innovation. Impact, that's a very good word too, impact. Ownership, that is a very good word too, ownership. Meaningful, learning together. Before, our colleague from Indonesia, you mentioned practical learning. So some of us will also maybe write down a change in the learning culture, means entrepreneurial learning. Innovative TVET trainers. Change mindset, the change of mindset. Independence, adaptive. again, entrepreneurial mindset. That's a very important point. A colleague from Iran, just transition, taking risk, responsible commitment, reality, undertaking. So we saw now a couple of different hashtags, and I think it's important always to see we are coming from different roots. And when we are talking about entrepreneurship education, it's important to see what is our perspective when we are talking about that. And I will talk about some areas like strategic, where are the pathways for strategic levels, what are the really cool entrepreneurial learning experiences, how can we fit this inside curriculums, how we are bringing the trainers and the teachers on board, and the youth workers. Later on with the ELIC, we will in particular talk about the institutions. And at the end, it's about also what is the impact of that, what we are doing. Is it effective? Does it work? Do we know it? Therefore, I like a lot that some colleagues have also written down research. But let us take a look, maybe we call it magical polyglot of entrepreneurship. What things do we want to bring in? And maybe some of you will write down something else, what you are missing. I know a couple of you see entrepreneurship education as an important tool to support entrepreneurial mindset. This is a very European focus too. Our perspective in Europe is when we talk about entrepreneurial learning, entrepreneurship education, we want to foster mindset. In some countries, like in my country, where we have a lot of immigrants, we also speak about equal opportunities, because immigrants normally do not have the same possibilities in a new country like the people who are living in the country. I was working in several countries, and when they colleagues were talking about entrepreneurship education, they were talking about self-employment, reducing youth unemployment. That's a perspective which I do not know in my country, because we do not have youth unemployment. But it's important to see that a lot of countries, short time ago, I was in Jordan, Lebanon, and Egypt, youth unemployment was a crucial challenge for the colleagues. And I think for many of us, it is like that. Then in the beginning, Priscilla was talking about the green entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship. Maybe we use the umbrella sustainable entrepreneurship for these both, but that's really a very, very positive perspective. But at the same time, we have business entrepreneurship, and we have to see how does we bring these things together, because a couple of business entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs are very green oriented, but not automatically all of them. Not everyone who is starting a business is automatically green or social. Is social entrepreneurship just a small percentage of entrepreneurship, or how can we bring these things in a better way together? And you were talking about digital entrepreneurship. I mentioned it here now as digital opportunities, because digital, on the one hand, brings us more together than anything else. On the other hand, it shows also opportunities which we never had in the past. You can now participate in a market which was in the past far away from you. Digital needs also skills. It is not an automatism that you can use digital opportunities. Therefore, we see, okay, for equal opportunities, we need to have some digital skills. Otherwise, we do not know that there is existing a lot of software and opportunities which we can use, which doesn't cost any money for you when you do not know these systems. Or KI is now offering also a lot of new opportunities, but you have to know these digital skills that you can transfer this to really opportunities for your idea. Maybe some elements we are missing in this magic polygram, because it's a very European focus. Therefore, I would ask some of your colleagues, okay, youth unemployment was written from a colleague. more important than the other ones. It's maybe the greatest one. And so when you have this perspective on youth unemployment, you also were using, okay, how important is then the other things? And how important is it when you work with youngsters in a program that they also develop the mindset? I know colleagues from Indonesia who made research that they saw, okay, the students, when they were in an incubator, they were able to create a lot of cool things, but the mindset development was not so intensively like the entrepreneurial skills. They were quicker in developing cool entrepreneurial skills, but with the mindset, they were missing some mindset development. So we see, okay, from mindset development, maybe we need to start earlier. So let us take a look together to several of the challenges before we take a look what are the really pathways. Because do we see the same challenges? From a European perspective, from the strategic element, I see the very, very large challenge. How do we bring together entrepreneurship education with sustainable entrepreneurship? That in business entrepreneurship, this is a normal thing that we bring this together. How can we bring this in a very close way together, that we do not see that this is a competition? Another challenge is, and that's something what I'm doing very often, is translation work. What does it mean to be an entrepreneur? Is it something where we need to be afraid? What does it mean to learn entrepreneurial mindset, to work with that inside the TVET colleges? Is it something for English teachers? Is it something for the art teachers? Is it something for the physics, for biologic, for the language teachers? Or is it only for business? That's a lot of translation work that it's super crucial, important that many of the trainers and teachers are involved in that. That's not just something for one in person when we want to work on a mindset change, when we want to work on equal opportunities. And then we see what is the network, particularly on strategic level. I see very often that we need really drivers on the strategic level. Because very often these are a very small number of persons who are in charge for that in the countries. I see this in European countries. There are normally 1, 2, 3 persons in charge in the whole country to foster that. And when they are really drivers, then you see that a couple of activities are done. And when they are maybe less drivers, you need to have a network that they get drivers and that you also learn from the drivers from other countries. That's the strategic level for a region, for a country, for a community. Let us jump to the next level for the entrepreneurial learning experiences. And I think it is super important when we want to have entrepreneurial learning in a successful way, we have to take a look to the needs of our learners. The needs of our learners are super important, and the needs will be very, very different. They will be different from country to country, but they will be also different inside the same qualification of TVET training. Because inside the TVET training, sometimes the basic experiences are quite different. Therefore, these needs are super important. When I have a training where I know that my students after the training, my learners after the training, will find a job in large companies, it will be a bit different when I know that everyone will be, 80% will be unemployed. So I have to start from the beginning a very different training that I see all what they are learning, they learn that they are able to create also the possibility of self-employment. That's a very different need. But I think it's super important because then you will get very different programs. Although maybe there's written down, this is a social worker or this is a solar worker, but it makes a difference. What is the need of the learners? And that's, in my opinion, it's a super challenge that we are really open to see what are the needs of the learners. Exactly. Oops, this was too quick. Therefore, when we are working on entrepreneurial learning, we have to see the target group. What is my target group? What is my need? When we talk about sustainable and social entrepreneurship, we also have to see there is a double element. On the one hand, we can work personally when we create a cool new idea. On the other hand, when you have learners who are doing this, they also like to change some rules in the society, where they see these rules need to be changed, that on the one hand, this ecological or social problem really can be changed in a systematic way. I think it's important to see this challenge. There's a combination of these two. And at my perspective at the moment, I see a lot of learners who are very willing to take green challenges and social challenges. A lot of young entrepreneurs are working in this area. Is it the same in your countries? Do you have the feeling that this is something they like to have an impact? Because if it is not like that, we also have to see, we have to work in communication. Well, how can you make a change? How can you make a difference? And I think it's important also to see we need a change of our learning culture. And the drivers for this change are the trainers, because they are able to make a different way how they are doing this. And when we really like to have youngsters with a mindset where they are able to change and create ideas, then they need to have these possibilities that our own ideas are welcome, and not just they are learning some topics where we think later on they will use these topics to create later on own ideas. I think from the beginning, we should think about this dual aspect. How can we create new ideas on the one hand, and which kind of knowledge do our learners need to support this? And when we talk about entrepreneurs, these are persons who create value with new ideas. And when you create value, it means you create value for someone else. So you need also to understand the needs from some other people. So our learners also have to understand to create a solution for a problem, and not just a product or a service. Then they really have to create a solution for someone else. And this is a challenge for many of our trainers. Many trainers have a problem to jump in the role that they are no more know all and everything. They are the knowledge owners, that they get in the position to be more mentors. A very important thing is to see there is not just one method how we can do this. There are several different methods over the time for different subjects, what you could use. Entrepreneurial learning activities. The next one, what I like to see, the challenges where we have to take a look, is how we bring these things in the curriculum. And what I see, it's getting more and more important that we have something like a competence frame where we bring sustainability, digital, and entrepreneurship together. And not to separate them, to bring them together, to have a more holistic approach, how these things can see together. And okay, different subject, different teachers later on will support this, but together they are really getting an outcome. The next point is, very often we see islands, that we have a very cool entrepreneurship club in 1 year. We have a very cool entrepreneurial learning, creativity class in 1 year, but in the next year, there is nothing coming after that. But we have to create journeys for our learners, particularly for learners who have not the perfect background from the family side. When they have to learn it in the school, we have to see there is a journey where they are able to learn inside this journey super cool, important personal development elements together with the entrepreneurial classic core elements, how to create an idea, how to realize an idea. Therefore, entrepreneurship is a core competence also for younger ages. There's a challenge. When we start in TVET, we should know that there is something before, that they have learned some aspects, in particular when we want to talk about growth mindset, it's important that our youngsters get empowered also with growth mindset when they are younger. Because otherwise, it's sometimes very difficult in the TVET training when it takes only 1 or 2 years to make this change. Therefore, we also have to see it's super important that we take attention to this journey aspect. Practical learning was mentioned before. Again, when we want to have trainers who are practical oriented, our teacher training and trainer qualification need also to be practical oriented. That's really a large challenge that a lot of teachers are only theoretically trained, and therefore, yeah, they are not automatically able to transfer this in the classes with the learners in a practical way. So therefore, this kind of integration in the initial teacher training and trainers training is very important. Strengthening on entrepreneurship education institution, we'll take a look later on for this. And the last point, what I like to mention is the impact research. When we talk about impact, this is something what we always have to be in mind. When I have a need in the beginning, a value which I like to create for a target group, I also have to figure out, did it work? Can we measure the impact? And the measurement of the impact, that's an important discussion. What kind of indicators can we use? There are existing valid entrepreneurial mindset indicators, what we can use. It is much more easier to make research about entrepreneurial skills. It's much more difficult to have the impact of the mindset, but the mindset impact is probably on the long term, the winner, when we are able to make a research on that. I'm in time, Priscilla?
Yes, you're doing great.
Yeah. I think these are the crucial points, and I think it's super important that we take care on that we see we have very, very different starting points, and we have to see the challenges for us, because when we have cool, innovative pathways, they are not always the same for us. We can have a lot of learnings from other ones, from experience from other ones, but we have major challenges where we have in the beginning to see what is the challenge would I like to salute with entrepreneurial learning. Thanks a lot. I gave over to Lenny.
Thank you so much for that really concept. You created a very good introduction to this webinar series, really talking about what is the starting point, where can TVET practitioners start, and how do they understand the challenges and the implication of this. So thank you so much for bringing that onto this. And really, before we move to the next, I'd really want to talk about the next phase of it. So we are going to have a video first, which is going to show us what has been the intervention we've seen when it comes to entrepreneurship learning. So I mentioned before that we have a practical guide that was developed in 2020, and this guide helps institutions to focus on what really drives entrepreneurial learning. This guide is in English, is Spanish, and also in French, and really provides very good toolkits and, of course, activities that is already online interactive versions that you can interpret in your TVET institutions and to have a starting point. We're going to look at that later to see where do you get started. So for now, I'd like to play this video first and see what exactly is this entrepreneurial learning practical guide and where can you start, given the background that Johannes has just provided us.
Entrepreneurial learning is the basis for the creative, innovative, and practical ideas we need to succeed and thrive in the 21st century. To help technical and vocational education and training, in short, TVET, institutions form the entrepreneurial mindset and values needed to improve people's lives and promote inclusive and sustainable societies and economies. UNESCO-UNEVOC has developed a guide to support leaders, managers, and teachers of TVET institutions to integrate and mainstream entrepreneurial learning in their TVET programs and institutions. The guide has 3 parts: an introduction to entrepreneurial learning and the basic concepts, a self-assessment tool for TVET institutions, initiating and strengthening entrepreneurial learning in TVET, the Entrepreneurial Learning Institution Canvas ELIC. Inspired by the business model Canvas, the ELIC is a conceptual tool for strengthening entrepreneurial learning at the institutional level. It demonstrates how all parts of a TVET institution can work together to create an entrepreneurial learning culture. How can ELIC be used? The ELIC consists of 12 steps. These 12 steps focus on different factors that you need to consider when integrating entrepreneurial learning in your institution, from value proposition to key activities and assessment. Typically, the elements are worked through sequentially from 1 through 12, although you can also use ELIC flexibly and pick any element of particular interest. The 12 steps include identifying your value proposition, defining and understanding your target audience, determining which entrepreneurial competencies are important for your target group, integrating entrepreneurial learning into curricula, developing specific activities to nurture an entrepreneurial mindset, outlining the resources needed for entrepreneurial learning to flourish, building your core team, partnering with key stakeholders, choosing a modern assessment method, using communication channels to reach your target group, developing organizational structures to implement entrepreneurial learning, as well as measuring the impact of your program. Each step follows a clear structure of questions, challenges, activities, and some best practice cases, with worksheets to reinforce your understanding along the way. These can help you answer the key questions linked to each of the 12 steps. As you discuss the questions and complete the activities presented in each step, you are encouraged to write your input on sticky notes or use markers so that you can reflect them on a wall or on a flip chart. The flip chart also shows how the 12 steps are connected and create a complete picture about entrepreneurial learning in your institution. Completing the tasks in the ELIC as a team helps to identify problems and opportunities that your institution can further work on. In addition, the ELIC enables your institution design and put in place projects that help validate or refute your key assumptions about entrepreneurial learning in your institution. One other key success factor is to network and exchange ideas with other educational institutions and entrepreneurial stakeholders in your own country and internationally. Find out more about ELIC at univoc.unesco.org or visit the Entrepreneurial Learning for TVET Institutions online guide.
Yes, indeed. I think Ms. Dessy started by talking about there are so many practices that exist, and many challenges that a lot of TVET practitioners face is to understand, where do I get started? Where do I belong in? If there was a list of classes or stages on entrepreneurship, where would you belong? And where can you start? Is there an innovative practice that is relevant to your TVET institution that you have not considered? And to take us through this part, I'm going to welcome my colleague, Ms. Lenny Martini, who is going to give us just an analysis of understanding the transferability of UNESCO-UNEVOC promising practices. And as you know, we have a list of promising practices, almost 100 of them, that we collect from our UNEVOC centers to just showcase what has been working in some regions and what can other people really learn from. So over to you, Ms. Martini.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Priscilla. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to join you all in this first webinar series of the Innovative Entrepreneurship Pathway Symposium 2024. So today I'm very excited to share about the transferability of UNESCO-UNEVOC promising practices in entrepreneurship, in the hope that you can all explore different approaches in delivering entrepreneurship learning in your institution. So I would like to start by echoing the previous presentation that entrepreneurship is more than just creating business and gaining profit. So entrepreneurship, which characterized by idea creation, innovation, and calculated risk-taking, does not necessarily end up with venture creation. Entrepreneurship is a powerful driver for growth, innovation, job creation, and sustainable development. So when we talk about this entrepreneurship mindset, we follow the process from checking our potential, opportunities, we develop ideas, we identify risk, resource, and then finally putting ideas into action. Entrepreneurship encourages individuals in their everyday lives and in the workplace to seize opportunities to bring positive change in society. For example, in the area of education, environmental protection, creation of jobs for persons with disabilities. Now, when we talk about entrepreneurial learning, we look for ways and needs of learners. As Johannes said earlier, we seek to foster self-esteem and confidence in them. As trainers, teachers, educators, we nurture talents and creativity of our learners while building the relevant skills and values that will assist them in expanding their perspectives on schooling and opportunities. In TVET specifically, entrepreneurial learning aims to promote creativity, innovation, and entrepreneurial mindset, which equips youth to access and thrive in the world of works, supports development. So, as mentioned earlier, and we already see in the video that UNESCO-UNEVOC has published this really good practical guide. The guide consists of 3 sections. First, of course, understanding the basic concept on entrepreneurships. The part B is about making the self-assessment to see at which stage is our institution in the entrepreneurial learning journey. And then the last section is about this ELIC, Entrepreneurial Learning Institution Canvas. I will continue now in my session with the part B of the self-assessment, while Mr. Lindner will continue later with part C of the ELIC Canvas. Okay, so we could see here on the screen the progression model that we can see that TVET schools can take an incremental approach to integrate entrepreneurial learning into their institutions. Could start from the stage 1 where activities started as individual initiatives. So teachers or trainers, they're interested in something, they start something in their own classes. And then we move to next stage 2, introducing some component of entrepreneurial concept. And then stage 3, where we implement the concept and develop practices. And finally, stage 4, where entrepreneurial learning is well integrated into the institutions. So here, the table here shows basically the different components of the stages. Consist of entrepreneurial learning concept, learning opportunities, key resources, teachers, trainers' expertise, leaderships, and school culture. From the table here and more detailed on our practical guide document or the interactive web version, we could see where our TVET school stands in terms of integrating entrepreneurial learning. I will give you a bit more time to look at the table to check in which components are we stronger. Are we good in the leadership? Do we have sufficient resources? Or we could also see in which areas do we aim to improve to be on the more advanced level. For example, do we need to give more training or update the knowledge of teachers and trainers? Or do we need to allocate funding mechanism for specific entrepreneurial learning activities? Please feel free to share on the chat in which stage are you right now. Are you in the rudimentary stage? Are you already in the final stage? Or are you between stage 2 and stage 3? So there are more detailed explanation on these indicators in our practical guide document, and we also have a very interesting interactive web page available on our website. Okay. So next, after we assess the internal or micro components in our own school, we now look at some macro components. This is beyond our TVET institutions. At the macro level, policy actors and other important stakeholders, they affect the ability to create a clear progression of entrepreneurial competency development. So this is from the primary through secondary and tertiary education. The stakeholders and policymakers, they influence, of course, policy and strategy, resource allocations, and the teacher training schemes, and the channels, assessment, and recognition systems. Other important components also include culture. This means how norms, values, and traditions can enhance or deter entrepreneurship. So to develop entrepreneurial learning capacity, we need micro and macro components which are supportive for quality implementation of entrepreneurial learning. We recently did a research on entrepreneurial learning, and we combined these micro and macro components to develop this framework to review the transferability of best practices in entrepreneurial learning. On the macro side, we look at the labor market and society level. And on the micro side, we look at the TVET institution or school level. We use this framework to assess the transferability of UNESCO-UNEVOC promising practices on entrepreneurship innovation pathways. As mentioned by Priscilla, UNESCO-UNEVOC published innovative and promising practices in TVET as a way to show how TVET can be designed and delivered to address contextual challenges, how TVET presents the enabling condition for success, and the promising practices also provides a snapshot of the positive impact of TVET on communities. So as for now, we have around 125 practices available on our website. In this session, I will share 4 examples of the practices to give you some ideas on how to improve the entrepreneurial learning in your institution. So this is the first example, the self-sufficient school. This is an initiative by Fundación Paraguaya, our UNEVOC center in Paraguay. The model is based on learning by doing, selling, and earning. So the school basically trains underprivileged students in practical skills to produce goods and services which will generate income to cover for the school costs. The school also provides further trainings on business and financial management to avoid drops out, and they want to improve productive engagement of graduates. This transferability of practice depends mostly on the situation of the ecosystem within the TVET institutions. If the leaders believe in the importance of teaching practical skills to their students, and to give them opportunities to use the school as a real-life business incubator, then the other micro components could gradually be improved. So when you look at the indicators, leadership should be strong to start these practices. In addition to that, the key to transferability of this model is the assessment and recognition. This model has successfully included the training of practical skills into the officially recognized school curriculum. Based on the information on the website, the self-sustaining school model has been promoted and implemented through partnerships with businesses, governments, and other nonprofits in 18 countries. So if you're interested in replicating the model in your areas, please feel free to contact directly Fundación Paraguaya and keep us up to date with the progress. Then we go to the next example. Wait. Yeah. So the next example is the entrepreneurship mentorship program for TVET students. This is organized by Embu College of Professional Studies in Kenya. So the school invites entrepreneurs, business owners to give trainings and to become mentors for students who are interested in starting their own business. Yeah. The key to transferability of this practice is establishing connection with stakeholders. This is echoing what Johannes mentioned that, and Ms. Dessy mentioned earlier, that this is a collaboration work. They involve them as mentors. This practice can be replicated in other areas due to the simple but impactful activities. The trainers say that this is an eye-opening initiative. So students learn about their opportunities after graduating from TVET schools. So the key to transferability, again, this is the involvement of stakeholders, the willingness of entrepreneurs in the area to be involved in the mentorship program. This practice is really applicable to TVET schools who are in the stage 2 or between stage 2 and stage 3. They could start with conducting a short entrepreneurial training program and look for local partners or stakeholders who could be the mentors and source person for the training. Another example is the development of female entrepreneurship. This is by IHUB, our UNEVOC center in Ukraine. So IHUB organized awareness raising activities and entrepreneurship trainings. They provide business incubator services. They create a mentoring network and maintain community of women entrepreneurships. For this practice, the key to transferability is the culture. Through encouraging communication among the trainees and creating a friendly and safe communication space to ask for advice, experience sharing, and support, we can create a supportive network of driven and innovative female entrepreneurships. This is also easily replicable in your areas, or if you are in between stage 2 and stage 3. And this is really good to targeting women entrepreneurs. The last example for today is the Youth Start Entrepreneurial Challenges by Initiative for Teaching Entrepreneurships, Austria. So this is actually organized by Mr. Johannes Lindner and colleagues at IFDE and their partners. They develop materials for 18 entrepreneurial challenges in 3 levels. The first level is the core entrepreneurial education. This is to teach students to develop ideas and put them into action. The second level is the entrepreneurial culture. This consists of challenges on motivation and inspiration. And then the last challenges is on entrepreneurial civic education. This is to increase awareness for citizenship and social responsibility. The challenges address basic personal and social issues of responsibility and intend to foster a culture of solidarity in our society. So this practice can easily be transferred to other regions or countries due to its modular approach at different levels of curricula and the availability of online materials in major language. With these resources, the macro components become less significant when transferring the practice to other places. Nevertheless, as also mentioned by Mr. Lindner earlier, the challenges are based on a European perspective. So replicating these challenges requires some more work to contextualize the challenges based on the local situation. There are still other practices on entrepreneurship innovative pathways to see on our websites. Among the practices are the other 4 on the list, which will be included in our upcoming publication on entrepreneurial learning scheduled to be published in a few months. So, Priscilla, I would like to conclude with an encouragement to first assess the situation at your institution. Look for potentials and opportunities to improve. Please feel free to visit our website or other resources for ideas and inspirations. If your institution is still on the earlier stage of entrepreneurial learning, we can always start with small and doable activities. If it is already in the advanced stage, you might want to look for partners and expand the impact of your process or connect with other institutions who might need mentorships or guidance in developing their own concepts. In any case, please feel free to reach us out through the website. I hope you find my presentation today useful. I'm handing back to Priscilla. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lenny, for that introduction. I believe people who had no idea about what the practical guide includes are very happy to see this. And indeed, we are seeing so many people at different stages. I can see Patrick saying that I'm in the rudimentary stage, and we are new in the entrepreneurship program in our institution. And I can also see that Kantu Mbozi from Zambia is talking about we are in stage 4, but we need funding mechanism. And there are so many other people who have different levels. Someone is saying from that it's awesome example and it's true what's happening in Embu and other TVETs. This is a scholar from Kenya. So really it's useful presentation, and people can actually articulate and see what levels they belong to. So thank you for that introduction, and also introducing the promising practices that other TVET institutions can emulate and they look at. So a question to you, our audience, is there any practice that Ms. Lenny has introduced that you find useful? Do you want to start a challenge in your TVET institution? Do you want to go and do a female empowerment project, or do you want to do a mentorship program, or what would you think will be an interesting way to start an activity on entrepreneurship in your center? And to take us through the institutional specific activities that you can do, I'm going to welcome back Mr. Lindner, who is going to take us through the ELIC. And the ELIC really provides guides and steps in which institutions can start. If you're like Patrick from the rudimentary stage, where do you get started? If you're Ms. Mbozi, who is on the final stage, how do you optimize what you have done, and how do you strengthen further? So welcome, Mr. Lindner.
Thanks a lot. Can you see the presentation? Is it fine?
And not yet.
Now?
Oh, it's coming. Yes, we can see. Fantastic.
Maybe to say one more, the ELIC was created in the cooperation of around 20 countries. There were colleagues from each continent who participated. There were colleagues from Paraguay, Chile, Canada. From Europe, there were Spain, Italy, Austria. From Africa, there were Nigeria, Tunisia, South Africa. From Asia, there were colleagues from India, from China, Australia, and I'm sure I missed some countries. Just to see, this is really the idea to make an approach which you easily can fit to your needs in your country. And thanks a lot, Lenny, for the very good examples which you brought. And I think it's always important when you think how to foster entrepreneurial learning in your institution. I like the pictures of mountains. Maybe you are using something different, but something where you get a larger perspective. Because very often when you are in the daily routine, many people are thinking, oh, it's not possible to change this or that. But when you get in the position of a larger perspective, larger view, then you are more open to change things and to develop things on the next level, on the next stage. As mentioned, there are different tools what you can use. On the one hand, there's the practical guide as a book, and they are existing in 3 languages. As Lenny mentioned too, this is very important to see. You can do an online course for the ELIC. That's a possibility where you go by online, step by step, through all these 12 questions, which helps you as a team to go on with your institution. And this online course is also existing in different languages. That's important. You have this short video, which gives you a small introduction, what's going on in ELIC when you are doing this with your colleagues in your institution. These are the materials which you can use. As Lenny mentioned, we have 3 chapters. In chapter A, you have a couple of basic understanding. And I think that's important that you take a look. Do we have a common understanding? What is entrepreneurship? And if you do not have a common understanding, you need to invest a bit time that you have a common understanding, because it's important that the people understand what they are doing. A trainer should easily explain this to the learners, that the learners can explain this to the parents. because it's important that they see that it's something really, really cool what they are doing, because this is an element of emancipation, which our colleague from Indonesia was using before, when you are able to find ideas and you see your talents and your ideas are important, and you are not just learning something, you are make a combination for that. I'm like a lot to use this very small exercise in the beginning when I'm doing a teacher training, that I ask everyone, which idea from your region do you find really cool? And then the second question, what value does this idea create to you? And I would appreciate if every one of you is just using 20 seconds to think, which idea do you really, really like a lot? And which value does this create? And please write it down in the chat function. What idea do you really like to use? For instance, your learners maybe would write down the mobile phone, because they now can easily communicate with all the best friends. Priscilla and I, maybe we would write the coffee in the morning, the small espresso, which gives us a bit energy. Please write down ideas which you really, really like, and which are created by humans, and which kind of value does this idea create for you? Okay, I'll write down the coffee gives me energy. Any other idea what you have, where you see this is an idea which brings really a value? This small exercise show you, okay, it's not just idea generation, it is value creation. Entrepreneurial learning is a value creation pedagogic, what we are doing. And this value you can use for many different areas. And I bring some examples, and there you see, for instance, food. And maybe you see a food which you do not know in your region, and that's very logical that you do not know it, because this is a resource which is in some regions super popular, and they are thinking, what can they do with this resource to create a higher value? And when we speak about new things, not everything means new is totally new, because you see a chair, and this chair means a new design and a new way how you can work with wood, because there you see that the wood looks a bit different than it was looking before, because this Mr. Tornet was able to change the way how wood looks like and created a new kind of chair. Maybe people would create today chairs for different target groups, which create a large value for them because they are more comfortable for them, because it fits to the needs from them when they are working, when they are sitting in the school, when they are wherever they are. I think it's important to see we have a common understanding. An entrepreneur is a woman who implements new ideas with value. This is something what you can do in many, many subjects. What can you do with the language? What can you do with art? What can you do with technical subjects to create ideas with a value? Good. As Lenny also mentioned, it's a process where we have to take care on the potentials of our learners. So we have to see what are the needs from them, what are the talents from them. And I'm jumping now inside C. And in C, you want to create your organization to a more entrepreneurial learning oriented organization. Therefore, you made the B, the self-assessment test, and take a look, what do you want to achieve with entrepreneurial learning? And when you think about you want to achieve something, and there you see answers from different colleagues from different areas, they did take a look for the value which they like to achieve with entrepreneurial learning, but in combination with the target group. And they had different values for different target groups. And that's important that we see, okay, when we have different courses in our institution, maybe we have different values for different courses, for the different target groups they're inside, because they have different needs. And you have in the ELIC book an overview of the different values what are possibly created in your institution. There are economic levels, personal development, and social oriented values which you maybe like to generate. And so we have 12 areas. Value proposition was the first one, which I mentioned now. And there is a small orientation in line. You see, value is the starting one, the second one in combination. Okay, for this target group, we'd like to create this value. When you want to create this value for this target group, which kind of competences do you need to increase? And I'm doing this now quite quick because we have maybe 15 or 10 minutes. When you are doing this, I think you will need a workshop of half a day to go through it. And the very nice thing is, in the practical guide, you have a lot of small exercises inside, what you can use that you're really able to do this in a nice way with your trainers, with your teachers in your college or in your university or in the training institution. After you have figured out what kind of entrepreneurial competences you want to foster, you are looking, how can we bring this inside the curriculum? And when we take a look how we can bring it inside the curriculum, we see quite a variation. Some people start with extracurricular integration. Okay, it's not really integrated, it's extracurricular. Sometimes it's outside the regular TVET program. It's an extra, it's a sensibilization program. Some of them have optional modules. Some of them are doing it transversal. Some of them make a combination of tutable modules, and some of them at a later stage, maybe they have a combination of quite different modules, what they are offering. And just to see also some examples from region, here you have from Nigeria, they have a 4-semester training. And in the second semester, they have a model introduction of entrepreneurship. In the third one, is it very practical? Then they have extracurricular activities. They have their own business club for the learners. And then in the fourth semester, they are offering entrepreneurship development. And you also see the hours, what they are doing, and they have written down, which I like a lot, theoretical and practical work. Just to make it very clear for the trainer, these are not 3 hours theoretically work. This is 1 hour theoretical background and 2 hours that they really are able to work on a project, on own ideas, on something what they should do in the combination with the training. It's an example from Nigeria. Another one from China, there you see they have regular classes in the first and the second year. And in the third year, they have specializations for the different TVET programs, what they are offering, different variations. Okay, you see, this is 2 examples from the practical guide. You have several more in the practical guide. You have for all of them orientations, which maybe is a help for you. This could be something how we could go on. Or you have a more complex variation where you see compulsory courses, mandatory courses, but they have to select some of them. Then they have optional courses and extracurricular activities for students who go more developed over through it. And that's something to see. There is not just one answer. It's always a question, which kind of target group you are working with, how much time do you have? And we jump now to the point of key activities. This means learning activities. And in the practical guide, you have a large list of possible key activities, what you could implement. Of course, in combination with the entrepreneurial competence you like to foster. And you could have an idea, these are key activities we maybe could add. So you have a selection. Therefore, it's not just one method. There are many different possibilities. When we talk about resources, this means also the resources, how many hours do you have in your TVET program, how many teachers or trainers do you have inside, and in which of these hours, in which of these trainers you can implement entrepreneurial learning. It doesn't mean automatically you need to add something extra. Maybe you can do a change inside. And then we jump to core team. Core team means you need to have a driver, a coordinator of these activities. That's an important thing. Very often, the headmaster, the principal of the TVET institution should be involved, because this is a strategic element. But later on, you need also someone who coordinates a festival inside your institution, or who coordinates cooperation with institution outside the TVET organization. That's an important element. How do you bring this inside? And there you see who are your key stakeholders, who could be a member in your network. And don't decide this just alone, and decide this together with all of your trainers. Who are your stakeholders and how can you bring them in? Very often people start with alumni. To see alumni, persons who are now have a job, and they could be the starting point for stakeholders, because they have a cooperation and they are willing to cooperate with you. Number 9 means when you change the learning culture, that in some courses is very practical, you also have to think about an assessment which is very practical. Otherwise, you would check the skills and the mindset development with an assessment which doesn't fit to the practical approach. That's an important aspect. And you also have several examples how you can do this in a practical way in the guide. Channels means very comfortable. How do you communicate with the trainers, with the learners, with the stakeholders? How can you communicate in a very easy and soft way? Sometimes this is just a WhatsApp group, maybe, with the learners together to do this. I notice in Indonesia, they have a TVET program where they have 125,000 learners inside, because it's for people who get qualified and they are working inside. And they are using WhatsApp groups to be in a very good and easy and soft communication pool. So think about things where you see that your learners are inside and you can use it for that. 11, organizational structure. Sometimes in the 2nd or 3rd level, you are changing some structures inside the organization. You maybe create an entrepreneurial learning center. Sometimes it's possible to create a room where every teacher can use it, every trainer can use it. And number 12 is the monitoring. That's something, when you say in the beginning, that's the value which we like to create. You also write down, this would be a number which would be great when we are able to reach it. And how could you match it at the end? Does it fit? Were you able to create this impact? I hope this gives you a small overview of the ELIC. In my opinion, it's a very, very cool tool for using it. Therefore, I would highly appreciate if you like to use it and use the online course. And maybe if there is a wish, we also can think about a small workshop for some of the colleagues. We made this together with UNESCO-UNEVOC. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. I feel like that was very hurried, considering that there's a lot to unpack, and that's a very good suggestion. We need to just have a different interaction just to look into this. And I'm just happy to look at the comments and see that a lot of our audience today have an ability they have actually interacted with these 12 steps. Someone actually said they have done around 9 of them, and they are very excited about the possibilities of what this guide has done to their TVET institution in regards to entrepreneurship. And I'm looking at the time and I'm seeing that we are really running out of time, but I'm sure that our audience are wondering, why are we talking about this? So far we've heard from Ms. Dessy, who really gave us a different perspective, talking about the challenges that entrepreneurship brings. And she also emphasized the need for industrial involvement and really looking at other partners who can support. Then we had from Johannes, who set the stage for this conversation, talking about the challenges that young people experience, and also talking about what does work, what works, how can you evaluate what works and what does not work, and really creating this foundation of all these discussion. Then we heard from Ms. Lenny, who provided some concrete examples that you can use to start. And finally, we know if you want to start, where do you start? You need the 12 steps. Do you have the value? Do you have the key activities? Do you have the partners, etc.? And this can guide you in the activities for entrepreneurship. So we're going to have a round of 3 other webinars, and as you have seen, the webinars are going to be focusing on digitalization. So we have the digital frontier, transforming entrepreneurship in this connected era. And then after that, we will be looking at green entrepreneurship and sustainability. Are there opportunities in the green economy? How can you leverage entrepreneurial learning to develop jobs in the green industry? And then finally, we're going to look at social entrepreneurship. What exactly does it entail? Are there practical examples? And we have set lovely and very insightful panelists who will come and provide insights on this. Specifically for the next session, which is going to be next week on Wednesday, on 28th, same time as today, we are going to dig deeper into understanding the role of AI in entrepreneurship. We're going to have this intervention. Then we're going to look at how can we leverage some of the activities that our colleagues from Shenzhen Polytechnic have seen, that how do you become entrepreneurial and innovative at the same time. This is going to be next time. And then we'll have our colleague from Pakistan who will talk about how to optimize digitalization by using digital tools from Amazon Web, promoting using cellular services, digital media promotion, and many other things that you can leverage entrepreneurship with this promotion. And finally, we're going to hear about gaming. How do you attach gaming devices into entrepreneurship education? And this is going to be very exciting, and I'm welcoming everybody back next week as we get to specific thematic focus on entrepreneurship. Please use the same link. This link works for all the webinars. And before we close, because we don't have a lot of time, I'd like to just give our panelists one final word where they can say one last thing that is going to really is going to touch some of our audience in a way that they can be motivated to participate in these series webinars, and most importantly, to be able to start something. As we have seen, there's a journey to start. So I'll just start with you, Ms. Dessy. Any final words, any final remarks that we want to provide?
Thank you so much, Ms. Priscilla. Talking about entrepreneurship, I really love what you said. The speaker said is more about just talking about enterprise and building business. So in this case, it has many ways to learn about entrepreneurship. But the most important is you have to open to any possibilities out there for your students to go and develop their self, go out from the classroom, because the conventional teaching, conventional learning is not going to work to improve your entrepreneurial mindset. You have to go out from the classical model and find the more innovative way to learn and cope with the challenge. But please, to understand is entrepreneurial journey is not a path that you can predict. Then becoming entrepreneur is hard. But because you talk about social entrepreneur, I'm social entrepreneur. Social entrepreneur is even harder, because you have to balance between your social missions and also sustain financially. So just open to any challenge, embrace any uncertainties. That's just about the process, then how you build your entrepreneurial mindset. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And I believe our audience have heard about it. So Ms. Lenny, any last words?
My word would be creative, look for potentials and ideas, and start some initiatives to solve problems and bring positive impact to your society and environmental. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very sharp and very useful. And finally, Ms. Johannes.
I like to say two things. I think empower the next generation with entrepreneurship education means for me, ideas from the next generation are important. And we should give them the space that they are able to develop and realize ideas. Ideas for entrepreneurial use, for society use, for any area, because it doesn't mean, with all of them, they are learning to create their own self-efficacy. And we need a next generation who has a good developed self-efficacy, because the solution for all the challenges what we have are in the ideas of our next generation. Thanks a lot.
Yes, indeed. The solutions lie in the people that we serve. They have the solutions for digital, greening, and social entrepreneurship. And we started by asking a question: why is entrepreneurship important for you? And I'm just going to read quickly what answers I received. I had an answer from Martha Montali, who said, yes, I'm ready for the future of work. It helps to reduce poverty and also is a tool for transforming sustainability, resilience, and productivity. And also we had from Lama Diab, who said, yes, I'm ready for the future of work. It is crucial and always find solutions to the emerging problems. It will reduce unemployment and social economic crisis. We also have intervention from Ami Prolix, I hope I pronounced properly, but it says that I'm excited for the future of work. The agriculture and the food industry has lots of needs for transformation, for sustainability, resilience, and productivity. This is a huge opportunity for entrepreneurship. And lastly, we had intervention from Mbabo Pumolo, who says, very much ready for entrepreneurship. It's a key driver for development enhancement globally. Thank you so much for your interventions. And really, I can see that it's a clear consensus that entrepreneurship is useful, but we need to understand how we can leverage the different aspects to it. I want to end this by really thanking everyone, our panelists, Ms. Dessy, Ms. Martini, Mr. Johannes, and even our head of office, Friedrich, for opening this webinar series, and to our dear esteemed participants who have joined us today from different countries. I can see we had so many, almost 100 participants joining today from different parts of the world. I've seen a lot of our UNEVOC representatives. I'm seeing so many names that I already know. Thank you so much for joining us, and we're looking forward to really getting deeper into the next sessions as we delve to understand what can we do to really secure a brighter future for everyone. Thank you so much and have a great day.